Hey everybody out there on YouTube land, this is Roy Carter from Wrecktitution Media, and yeah, I haven't done any videos in the past little while, obviously, mostly because I knew that if I started continuing down this path and actually doing targeted videos, continuing on with my societal manipulation series, that there's a good chance that I'm probably going to be off of YouTube anyways because of either being demonetized or kicked off. And we've seen that with the coordinated effort by Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, even Apple's been trying to shut down, I guess, Alex Jones. And, you know, I think it's pretty funny how they have all these fucking assholes on fucking YouTube that are talking about, I don't really like Alex Jones. Oh, he should have been off a long time ago. Well, you know what? Fuck you. I'm sorry, but you're talking about conspiracy theories? What about this whole bullshit Russian fucking collusion? No fucking proof of it for the past 2 goddamn fucking years. I see on the fucking news, and they don't tell anything about the what's going on with the conflicts of interest with Mueller and with Uranium One deals, where he actually fucking delivered a nuclear fucking material to the fucking Russians on a tarmac. You know, I mean, it pisses me off that nobody takes the time and fucking effort to actually look at the goddamn fucking Department of Justice and the Department of Defense documents that they've released many times through Alex Jones. In fact, Alex Jones, for the most part, was an aggregator who just reported on the main news articles that were going on out there and putting his own spin on it or his own kind of take on it. And everyone's like, oh well, it's not real news. It was fake news. It wasn't objective. Tell me what news source is objective now, huh? You got YouTube kissing the fucking ass and lining the pockets of the young fucking turds. They can go up there talking about having a fucking revolution in the goddamn fucking country and talking about fucking stringing up Trump by his fucking ankles, but that's fucking fine, nobody says anything about that shit. They got some fucking racist bitch at the fucking New York Times, talking about kill all fucking white people, and I think Laura Loomer did a thing where she put the exact same tweet but put Jews in there, and she gets fucking Twitter banned. So it just goes to show you the fucking bullshit that's going on right now. They did it at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning, which was just indicative of the fact that they were gonna, ban people. And then YouTube did it around just after the Real News with David Knight ended. And I'm sorry, I'm just really pissed off here because I think it's pretty funny how there's, a huge selective editing when it comes to, laying the equal amounts of the law. And I really do hope that Trump goes after and starts putting some RICO lawsuits and some antitrust lawsuits on these fucking assholes like YouTube and them, because they deserve to get fucking their asses sued. I'm sorry, but Alex Jones was just a voice out there, and there's so many stuff that's gone on. How about CNN with the lies that they had for Iraq, huh? How about the first Iraq war with the babies in incubators? That whole bullshit fucking story that sent people into the fucking world, into the fucking Gulf War, and ended up killing about 500,000 Iraqi kids because they weren't even allowed to get chlorine afterwards because they had so much heavy sanctions and stuff that they weren't allowed to do to purify their own fucking water. That pisses me off. You got the news that's completely covering up about this, war that's going on between Saudi Arabia and Yemen, pretty much. Where's the human interest story? You won't see a little fucking kid in a goddamn fucking ambulance in Yemen all dusty and bloody now, will you? No, you won't fucking see a thing. Why? Because the news is totally fucking bullshit. And so I think it's pretty fucking rich nowadays where you got all this fake news that's calling out fucking Alex Jones for being fake news. Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, he said a few fucking things that, may be a little out there. I'm sorry, but, the whole gay frogs thing? Atrazine. It's been proven. Even fucking Berkeley's had a medical science thing saying that shit out there actually fucking feminizes frogs and stuff like that. He was proven to be right on that. How about 2013, when he was one of the few information outlets out there in the alternative media that was reporting on the fact that it looked like Al-Qaeda was being funded to take out Gaddafi, at the very least. And then what was going on with the Free Syrian Army, with the Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, and how, the white helmets have been exposed over many course of, through Serial Girl, or Bipartisan Girl, or whatever Twitter name she's going off now. And other people who were independent reporters that were noticing that there was American weapon caches in places where they were taking out Al-Qaeda and whatnot. They noticed that the white helmets were. When some guy was getting executed from the Syrian government forces, there was Al-Qaeda members that were with the white helmets. So, like a total terrorist organization. And so we're bringing him here into Canada, and I think that's totally fucking bullshit. I mean, if you're going to bring in people that, didn't kill a bunch of people, or didn't, fake a bunch of gas attacks and whatnot, or, bring in the Christians or the Yazidis, I'd have no fucking problem with that. But no, we have this bullshit censorship 1984 Orwellian crap that's going on right now, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the CBC being a leftist organization. There is no right-leaning voice really in Canada aside from the Sun and Rebel Media. And you know what? So what? They go off a little, Islamophobic every now and then. You can say that, but is there really no fear to have about Islam? Islam, when it's when you look at it politically, when you look at the fact that populations that have higher Muslim populations end up having more oppressive, and they end up pushing laws separate from the laws of the actual country that's been in power for a long period of time. Look what's going on. They're recognizing Sharia law marriage courts in frickin' the UK now. And they've been doing that for a while, which is, they're just coming out and admitting it now. You're seeing what's going on in Sweden. You're seeing what's going on all over the fucking place. Spain is being invaded by migrants now. And it's just a good show to tell you that, open borders, socialism is a bad fucking idea. And yet you have all these mainstream media here in Canada, in the States, all pushing the fucking socialism bullshit. And I'm fucking sick of it. And I'm sorry I'm swearing a bunch of times here, but I don't really give a fuck. YouTube's going to throw me off the goddamn fucking platform anyways. Which is why I'm going to be looking into going into Minds and Gab.ai. It doesn't really matter because I don't really have a huge reach anyways, I haven't really done a video for probably, 3-4 months now, but still, I had to do something now once I found out that they were going to finally do that move, and you know what? I'm starting to put everything I can to promote Infowars, because you compare it to the bullshit mainstream media that's going on nowadays, and I would take Alex Jones fucking hands down, especially David Knight. I like David Knight and Owen Schroyer. Sometimes Owen Schroyer goes out there and he's a little bit combative and tries to go out there and do a little bit of gotcha journalism and stuff like that. But, that's why I like the fact that they have multiple shows going on by different hosts for the most part. David Knight, I actually respect him a lot more because he's very liberty-minded and oriented. He definitely has a heart. You can tell him when he's actually talking about stuff that he really cares about. And, he's almost like choking up on air or whatnot. It's not some sort of persona. It's not some sort of thing. And I think it's funny how people are like trying to defend Alex Jones, being like, yeah, but he's kind of a meme, and yeah, he kind of said a few things. But I'm sorry, but when you have the Las Vegas fucking shooting, for example, and they can't get their fucking story right in one of the most like fucking video camera and like documented fucking cities on the fucking planet, and you're supposed to sit there and take it when they've had fucking false flag attacks. I'm sorry, I don't believe the official story of fucking 9/11. And if you look into if they were really fucking serious about going after the people, the perpetrators of fucking 9/11, they would have originally gone after fucking Saudi Arabia and did a huge investigation in the 9/11 Commission report about all that crap that was going on with the old Bindar Bush there. With I guess there was all kinds of money that was being funneled to ADA, and it's crazy. It really is. And, the 28 pages from the Intelligence Committee report, which is completely different from the 9/11 Commission report, show that there was a lot of conflicts of interest, and it showed that there was a lot of ties to Saudi Arabia. And yet, there was no mention of that. They went right after Iraq instead. They used it as the New American Century, the PNAC report, as they call it. And they just followed that. And they used and I'm not saying that it was that it was everyone in the government, but there was a small select group of people from, if you really look into that. And what's wrong with asking, without going and ask some questions about something like that? Because when you have a bunch of fucking coincidences that don't add up together, it's about time you start asking questions. But when you're a state-run broadcaster and you got your money, and your job and everything that's relying on keeping a certain narrative, how are we supposed to trust the news? How are you supposed to think that there's some sort of objective, miraculous fucking unicorn out there that gets state money but yet still cares about the public and still fights for their interest? Meanwhile, the fucking commercial is some big pharmaceutical company that's paying billions and billions of dollars that hasn't properly trusted whatever drug that they're showing you on fucking television, where half of it is telling about some like weird euphoric kind of like smiling family or people that are like, you know, depressed or whatnot, or they'll have a little drive, a little circle with a smiley, with a sad face, but then the half of the fucking commercial is them telling you about all the gross side effects that can make it worse. You know, I mean, we have all these childhood diseases that are coming now, you know, like, we're supposed to be, you know, so medically advanced, you know, but yet the autism rates are fucking soaring, and people are saying, oh, it's because they didn't diagnose them before. Oh, really? They didn't have to diagnose them before? I'm sorry, but there's a difference between 1 in 5 fucking thousand and 155. All right, and if you're too fucking stupid to notice that, then that's on you. And I'm sorry, I'm at the point now where, you know, I'm kicking my ass. I'm working every fucking day pretty much to get myself back into shape and try to get myself to the point where, you know, when shit hits the fucking fan, I know what I'm going to be doing. Because I need to get myself back in peak physical condition as much as I can, because this is some bullshit going on here. Especially since I got my family who's, you know, they're politically awake for the most part. So, you know, I mean, I wonder what kind of a target list I'm probably on some government CSIS website, probably, you know, just waiting for me to say the wrong thing, or my mom to say the wrong thing, or my folks to say the wrong thing, because we know there's a lot of corruption. You know, like, we're well aware of the bullshit here in Canada. And so I think it's, you know, I think the reason why they went after Alex is because he has a reach. You know, I mean, you look at what happened with the election. A lot of those people were Infowars voters. There was a lot of Infowars shirts that were out there, and I think that this is the most stupidest thing that they could have ever done, because this is going to give Gab.ai, this is going to give Minds a lot more traffic, and I say, hey, more power to them, because that's the marketplace of ideas, the free market, and people are going to get sick and tired of this Facebook censorship crap, and they're going to get sick and tired of this YouTube censorship crap, and they won't be those main. You know, but it pisses me off, because what do? They say, oh, they use that excuse, oh, we're a private enterprise, we're a private organization, we have our terms and services to make sure that everyone's operating fairly. But that's bullshit, because it's not being applied equally. There are plenty of people, plenty of groups on Facebook that are talking openly about killing the freaking president, that are talking about open freaking, like, an actual call to arms for revolution. And yet, Alex Jones is the worst person in the world. You know, Diamond and Silk are the worst people in the world. You know, conservative people like Roger Stone's the worst person in the world. You know, these are people that never advocated violence against their enemies, never did anything to, you know, silence their political opponents by any means of force or any means of a serious collusion. It's ridiculous. It really is. You got all these people out there that are trying to make Alex Jones be the worst person in the freaking world, when all he really is exposing the shit that's going on in the government. You know, I mean, he was showing how Flynn came out and said that Obama, you know, like, many times they reported on Obama and the White House funding radical jihadis. You know, and that's what happened with Libya, and that's what happened with Syria, as much as, you know, and it just came out now. Recently that they had a couple reports that were showing that, you know, there was that they used Al-Qaeda and Al-Nusra elements with the white helmets and MI6 and in Syria. And if you look at what they did, they faked a lot of those attacks that were, you know, where they have, like, some guy, the mannequin challenge was just total bullshit. It was total propaganda. And then they also had the recent gas attack where they had little kids in there and they're putting the water in their face or whatnot, when there wasn't a gas attack whatsoever. It was completely staged. And even the UN had to come out and admit it, you know. And I mean, I think it's pretty funny how they always try to blame everything on the Free Syrian Army. I mean, not the Free Syrian Army, but the Syrian Army, when they had the FSA and Al-Qaeda and them openly on many different occasions using sarin gas and chemical weapons on villages and whatnot, because they didn't give a shit. So I mean, there's so much bullshit that's going on out there, and I think Alex Jones has every right to be on those platforms. But, you know, sure enough, it has one of those things where it's they're trying to say that he's a meme or whatnot. I'm sorry, but the guy has done a lot more for the liberty movement. I mean, if you were to say back in 2001, for example, right, or 2000, what was it when he came out with when he infiltrated Bohemian Grove? I think it was around that time, either 2000 or 2001. If you really go back to Alex Jones and what he did for alternative media and for questioning the bullshit mainstream media narrative, you know, he got into Bohemian Grove, and he exposed. If you were to go to just a regular person and say, would you believe that a bunch of powerful elites, both Democrat and Republican and oil and tycoon barons and pioneers and titans of industry all go into the California redwoods for about 2 weeks, and then dress up in weird colored robes and do weird mock human sacrifice, weird rituals, in the middle of a forest with a giant 40-foot wooden or stone owl. People would look at you like you're fucking totally batshit crazy. But sure enough, he broke in there and got the footage, and for anyone, for so many years, I've heard so many fucking assholes try to be like, oh, well, Alex is just a shill, Alex is just an operative. It's like, if he was an operative, then why have they done everything they possibly could to shut him down and stop him in every single possible measure? And now everyone's like, oh, he's right-wing. Do you know that he only became... he only started siding with the Republican Party maybe 2-3 years ago? This is a guy who's been around for 20 years. This is a guy who got arrested for protesting George Bush. This is a guy who called out both Bush and the Clintons and Obama. He did a lot to call out a lot of the mainstream garbage in the United States, not just in the media, with the CNN with their little fake Scud missile attacks and their little fake... where they had where they started trying to assemble panels to fix their own narratives for their own little town halls after the Parkland shooting, to demonize the NRA and whatnot, done with a bunch of bullshit anti-gun groups. It was just such a clear, obvious, Donna Brazile feeding the questions during the debate. They were all thick as thieves, and I'm so glad that the Podesta emails got released, and that I'm so glad that Assange did what he did, because it really showed a lot of people just how corrupt the DNC was, and it's so much to the point where, they rigged the election for Bernie Sanders, and even anyone who's not right wing or not I'm a centrist. I don't agree with some of the at least half of the positions that they have there. For one, I'm not religious. I'm a bit spiritual. I keep an open mind. I'm an agnostic. So, when he's talking about God and stuff like that, I kind of think, okay, well, that's his perspective. That's where he's coming from as a Christian or whatnot. So, I've also talked to people that, if you look at people like David Icke and stuff like that, it's, yeah, he's out there and whatnot, but when you look at at a shadow government of people and of elites, a pyramid structure of people at the top that are, screwing it over for people at the bottom, you just replace, God with or the whole dichotomy between good and evil, between good people and some weird space alien race of reptilians and stuff. Yeah, it's out there. I'll give you that. And, most people would definitely laugh at that little bit, but, he is not David Icke, and he has his own beliefs and stuff like that. I'm also pro-choice, being a libertarian. I don't believe that we should force women to have abortions, because that's pretty much what you're, going down that route if you want to make sure that Roe versus Wade, or just that, here in Canada, abortion rights are taken away from a woman. And, I think that it should definitely be done with reverence. It shouldn't be used as a willy-nilly birth control method, because you should at least, for people that have to do it, realize that that's a whole path of life that could have gone down, that could have yielded a bunch of possibilities. It's really hard for certain people, and to think about what kind of life they might have had, if they did have that kid, or for whatever reason, and that's just kind of how it is. It's kind of to the point where it's when it comes to that issue, I really don't agree with them when it comes to they're talking about the black people being aborted and stuff like that, but they are going on statistics, and there really isn't anything called hate facts out there, but some people are trying to push it that way. And so what I have to say about that whole thing is, they made some good points when they showed the in California, when they showed the them talking about, just casually talking about cutting up baby parts, and that Planned Parenthood was actually doing illegal practices by selling those baby organs when they shouldn't have been doing that. And if anything, and I agree with Alex, and he's actually taken a lot of libertarian things. He's even said before, why don't they pay women to have their to get their stem cells and for the uterus or whatnot. Instead of making poor women, especially poor minority women, pay like $300 to $400 to have it, so they can go and illegally sell that stuff. Like you hear them talking about, wanting to buy like nice cars or whatnot. Talking about baby organs and shit like that. That's some pretty fucked up shit, and I'm pro-choice. That was some pretty compelling arguments, and I think that they definitely need to be made, and especially since they went after those people and started charging the people that released the 7 hours of conversation about it, because they pretended to be a fake medical company. But it's like, I'm sorry, but if they're exposing horrible business practices, they shouldn't be punished for that. They should be rewarded, and also the Planned Parenthood places should have been heavily fined. There should have been something about that to make sure that there wasn't that kind of outright and gross abuse of their medical practices, and that's just a fact pretty much in my books. And I mean, there's a few other things that I don't agree with Alex on, but I mean, like, I'm kind of skeptical about that whole kind of, him talking about how, like, practically every vaccine and stuff is, like, really bad for you. But, I mean, I definitely see that there have been problems, and I don't believe that vaccines are 100% safe and effective. But when you do look at, like, the fact that there are certain diseases we don't really have much of, and then have that whole herd mentality thing on the other side of the argument, which is a bit bullcrap too. So I mean, there are definitely bad batches of vaccine. There's like $101 million dollars that were paid out for people that just got messed up from the MMR, I think, vaccine or whatnot just recently, and they have an entire vaccine damage court in the States to, but I think that the chance of you actually, like, having the shots for your newborn kid and actually having it have an adverse react is actually pretty slim overall. But I mean, it does happen, and to say that everything is 100% safe and effective is just ignorant. So I mean, there's definitely an argument to be made on both sides there, but I mean, we should definitely be looking into removing adjuvants, which is what causes a lot of allergic reactions and also causes swelling and a lot of long-term damage and short-term damage, especially to kids. So that's something we need to look at. I mean, how much is a recommended amount of, like, aluminum or not fluoride, but aluminum or mercury, or like, thimerosal is pretty much, in some places they say that they've taken it out, but to be honest with you, I think it's still in there, because I mean, if you look at the autism rates just skyrocketing, and they try to say, oh, it wasn't because it wasn't documented, but I mean, we've had a decent amount for the past like 50-60 years now. I mean, we've had a decent amount of time to notice that there's rates that are increasing, and when you have it to the fact that every newborn here, especially in Canada, is practically, and I think a lot of places too, they do it as soon as they take the baby away to get it to check it after the mother's given birth or whatnot. They do their thing. They take a little nip of blood on the heel now, and they record that. I guess they make a record of your genetic makeup. So isn't that wonderful? And so we're definitely going down a very dark road. We're going towards censorship, and at least on the bright side, it will be kind of, Matt Drudge was right. It is going to be the internet ghettos, pretty much, of, I mean, because here you have all these companies using the defense that they're a private company, but yet they're doing everything they can to silence or make sure that their competitors don't make it into the free market. Like, they've openly tried to go after Gab.ai and kick them off of, I think, the Apple Store or whatnot, a few other places too. They've done everything they can to try to silence that, and that is when it becomes a protectionist racket, and it needs to be broken up, or at the very least, things need to be shuffled around. If they're going to start acting like they're a global utility but a private company, you can't have you can't have a both. You got to pick and choose when it comes to that. You can't, because otherwise you're just a giant fucking hypocrite when you're telling people that you care a shit about people's experience when you're selling their fucking private data to Chinese companies and shit like that. So I mean, it's a bad fucking place that we're going right now, and I'm going to keep telling people, everyone I talk to, Infowars is more reliable source than the mainstream media. I'm so sick of here in Canada. It's just the whole time that there's been this Russian collusion story, they've pushed it and CTV talking about how Mueller's already indicted, but you can indict a ham sandwich, but you can't prove it. And when they actually had people coming from Russia to try to actually show up to the court, that with Mueller was having his thing there, he was shocked because he didn't expect that they would actually bring people over and want discovery. And what that means in the legalese is that it allows them to go through all kinds of stuff in the past and conflicts of interest and things that would definitely affect the legitimacy and the honesty of an investigation. I mean, I think it's pretty funny how you have the foxes trying to decide the best way to keep the hens inside of the coop. It's ridiculous how you got the very same people who are completely corrupt, who have done 100,000 worse times. When it comes to ripping off people in Haiti with the Clintons, that is something that is fact. That money did not go back to the people, and a lot of people donated. And I think it's funny when it comes to those government they act like they're non-profit NGOs, but they are in bed with every possible kind of disingenuous banking practice that there possibly is to get their money back. And so none of that money goes back to the people where it's supposed to be intended. They kill millions and millions of people. You have Hillary Clinton. We came, we saw, he died. Fucking cackle. Libya, they're selling fucking people on fucking slave blocks right now, and yet they're going after Trump for being a racist. Like Obama fucking goes over to Africa and tells fucking people that are trying to develop, that are, already, maybe just in certain areas where it's like bearable to live, but it's not, like South African GDP's like dropping like a freaking rock right now. Because they're trying to, they're practically getting ready for an ethnic genocide. They're going to be cleansing the whiteys, which is, the same people that were growing their food. So that's going to work out really well for them. But, God forbid we say anything, because it's racist otherwise. And I'm at the point now, I'm going to start fucking saying whatever the fuck I want. I really don't give a shit. I'm sick of these people trying to fucking put their virtue signaling fucking guilt trip on fucking people. I don't give a fuck about what they think. And I don't give a shit. I'm going to keep on doing what I fucking do, and I'm going to let this fucking probably go on Minds.com trying to figure out Gab.ai. The thing about Minds is when I went on there originally and trying to upload videos, it was kind of hard to put them on a playlist. I was trying to organize them a certain way, but I wasn't able to do it. It was really kind of confusing. So I'm thinking eventually I'm going to be next year I'm definitely going to be vamping up my YouTube channel more. What I want to do is I want to get a decent DSLR, and then even though my back's kind of messed up, I'm very limited to what I can do. I can't exactly go chase down Betrayus if he's running by me or whatnot like that, unless I had some sort of motorized scooter. But even then, he'd probably have some sort of device to electronically disable me when I'm chasing after him. So I don't have the leg power that, Luke Radowski or Dan Dix and all them. I mean, they're probably next on the chopping block, to be honest with you. And that's what it comes down to. It's like the old saying, when they came for the Jews, and then they came for the gypsies, and they came for all these people. I said nothing, and then when they came for me, there's nobody else left, and that's what it really kind of feels like, because the Democratic, the primaries are coming up in the U.S., and I really do think that this is a political move. Because they don't want, because they're making this huge big huffle about fake news. Yet they're talking about openly, open violence and causing Sarah Huckabee Sanders like a traitor to her own race and to her own gender, and it is the same people that say they're not racist, but they're the most disgusting, vile, and fucking outright hypocritical people you will ever meet in your fucking life on the left. And I mean, yeah, there's some assholes on the right too. And, I think it's pretty fucking funny how they use Richard Spencer, who used to be an Obama supporter, mind you, as some sort of cookie cutout figure of the far right, as if he's just working hand in pocket and on the secret payroll of Trump. And Alex Jones gets called about fucking conspiracy theories? Are you fucking kidding me? I am so sick of the entire mainstream media spewing their propaganda and their bullshit, trying to fucking control the fucking minds of the people instead of being a fucking news organization and reporting objectively on different types of news. You know, being like, hey, this is what happened, this is what this says, this is what this says. Draw your own fucking conclusions. We don't even have that anymore. It's completely to the point where I'm honest. I'll tell you that I have a bias here. I'm not trying to do some sort of objective thing from a bunch of sides. And then, you know, I mean, if you ask Tim Pool, when he says the reason why he does opinion journalism is because a lot more people watch it, because people agree with you in your position or your arguments or whatnot. And even if they don't agree with you and you're able to, you know, give proper arguments, they should at least have the respect to be like, okay, I see where that person's coming from. I don't agree with it, but I appreciate where they're coming from, and I defend to the death the right for you to say what you got to say. And that's, you know, something that should be, you know, I mean, Alex Jones has never incited to violence. He's never, you know, and that's definitely a boundary where I believe you should make, is when it comes to, you know, the non-aggression principle, when it comes to violence against other people and stuff like that. You know, it's different. You're not like actively trying to suppress. You know, you're taking your own view of the world or your own ideas, and you're challenging other people's who may have, you know, a really horrible idea or maybe are onto something. And that's how we've always developed as a human race. But now it's a pyramid victimology structure where, you know, you can't say anything because you were born a straight white male. And that is the most fucking racist thing I've ever fucking heard of. But you see the left champion it all the time. You see the left talking about openly endorsing fucking segregation in the disguise of safe spaces for, you know, for marginalized people. And I'm sorry, but we already went past practically the point of, you know, racial and gender equality many years ago. And what they're doing now is just trying to control speech, control the way you think, reprogram your brain. So, as the Ministry of the Australian government is saying it, because they're having these new fucking days every Wednesday of every goddamn month, because, you know, bullshit. So, and then they shut down fucking Laura Southern and Stefan Molyneux in fucking New Zealand. You know, and then she tries to go to Lakemba, and sure enough, it's total bullshit because the police there doesn't want her to go near a mosque because, you know, God forbid, her presence in a country, you know, or in a mosque, you know, as a guest, you know, or as a tourist is, you know, gonna trigger other people to do violence. Therefore, she's the problem. That's some pretty fucking bullshit logic right fucking there. You know, you should be responsible for your own actions, like any responsible human being. You know, if you decide to be violent and, like, let's say, punch someone like Jeremy from the Quartering in a bar because you feel like it's okay to punch Nazis and you're an entitled little bitch, then, you know, you fucking deserve to go to jail. Because that's a straight up call to fucking violence. And it's going to get to the point where, you know, like, when you make peaceful discord impossible, you make violent revolution probable. It's going to happen. You know, and that's not something I made up. That's an old quote. You know, and it's been seen many, many times again in history. Like, I really do think that in the next 10 years, there's going to be some sort of civil war or a major kind of cultural battle that's going to be coming up where, you know, it's going to go from pleasantries and disagreements and arguments to straight out fucking warfare, where it's going to be people are going to die for a lot of fucking useless fucking reasons. And it's sad. I don't want that shit to happen, you know, but it looks like that stuff is going to happen soon. And I mean, you can only control people for so long before they start to realize what's bullshit. And that's why, one of the main reasons why I love Trump, just for that reason alone, is that he showed, I mean, just take the Podesta emails and stuff like that. Like, if it was, you know, an establishment Republican, a lot of that stuff wouldn't have been, the left would have been able to wipe underneath the carpet because, you know, they wouldn't have been called on it. Now, some of the things are a little bit questionable, like, you know, calling Ted Cruz's dad, working with Harvey Oswald and stuff like that. But hey, it's possible, you know. I mean, anything's possible when you look at like all the crap that goes on in the government. When it, regardless of whether or not you live in the U.S. or whether you're Canadian, it's just here in Canadian. Here in Canada, here in Canada, a lot of people just aren't aware of it. It's because the news is very kind of bland unless something happens, but then they never tell you the thing. Like, they'll never tell you that ISIS claims responsibility for, or the fact that Faisal Hassan's brother is in a coma and had some connections to a guy that like got a drug bust for a ridiculous millions of dollars worth of not even fentanyl, like something that's even like 10 times worse than fentanyl. I just can't remember the name of it right now because, well, I'm not a fucking druggie and a fuck up. But it's crazy. It really is. It's at that point now where I'm gonna have to go to Minds, go to Gab.ai. I think a lot of people are gonna start realizing the reason why Trump. I mean, look at the whole Jim Acosta thing, freaking out and stuff like that. Like the guy's acting like a grown man child, and he's trying to make everyone be like, oh no, he's just being an independent journalism. He's just mad because people don't like his style of reporting. No, it's bullshit, because for so long, for so many years, these little ass clowns that think they were the biggest thing since sliced fucking bread have, as if they're giant celebrities and everyone needs to bow down and kiss their fucking ass. Once they start getting called out and they start going a little too fucking over the top and, looking down their nose on everyone, then, obviously they're the biggest hypocrites, because they don't like follow their own virtue signaling. In fact, they're all following a certain narrative, and that narrative has been predominantly hate on Trump. That's the reason why 91%, almost, I think it was around 90% for both when he was running and both while he was president, of completely negative news. And I'm sorry, but there's that old saying in show business where, any kind of publicity is good publicity as long as you're not getting forgotten, kind of thing. And there is some truth to that, for sure. But when you look at the fact that it is complete propaganda to the point now where you see people that are destroying his star on the Walk of Fame. No one else did that. Like, no one else were taking, places where Clinton or Obama or Bush Sr. or whatnot, like, they never went after where they went, or any kind of like publicity aspect of their character or their property and tried to destroy that to make a statement. This is complete insanity, complete Trump derangement syndrome. You got people that are talking about the complete abolition of borders when they have tons of people that have come through, and they have like rape trees and murder like gullies and stuff like that coming across the border or whatnot, just because of how bad it is. And when you see people that come to a country that are expecting a bunch of free shit instead of actually getting maybe like a stepping stone at best to help them learn the language or get a job. Like I said before many times, I have absolutely no problem with people who want to come here and make a better life for their family. My best buddy Mel, his dad was Chilean. His family escaped Justin, but Augustus Pinochet. And just the amazing stuff they told me about, like, the stories and whatnot. And, like, they're just super nice people. And those people I totally understand, because they're the ones that work their ass off, They're the ones that are doing everything they can to make sure that their kids have a better life. They're not going there thinking, what am I going to get now? What can I do to practically better my own living standards? And they are doing it to a certain way, but they're not doing it to the extent where, they're mixing into Canadian culture. And I mean, that was kind of cool, because when I was like first meeting my buddy Mel, well, I'm really not like a whole lot of friends with anymore. I haven't really talked to him in a while. But when I was in high school, it was his parents that kind of got me politically awake and whatnot. And mind you, I kind of went more Marxist at that time and communist. But when I realized that, I looked into reading kind of like the autobiography of Che, and how he was like calling like like black people were inferior and lazy and stuff, and just seeing kind of the racism of kind of communism. And then also, when you get older and you start to realize that the only way you can seize the means of production is by taking over from people who are essentially not some sort of super rich class. They're just running a business. They're just trying to make ends meet, like saying. And the thing about that is just the over response of it is, it's not like we're going to take your, like if you look at what happened in Mao's China, when you look what happened with Stalin, those people didn't just get like a little, oh, here's a little slap on the wrist, you got to do this, you got to help out now. No, they got to the point where they got completely starved because they took everything. They started off saying, oh, everything's going to be great. Started taking little by little and little, saying, oh, it's okay, we're going to spread the wealth, we're going to, make sure that everyone's at a living wage. But really what it is everyone becomes fucking poor aside from a small class of people. And if you look at practically every outcome of communism and socialism, it's been a, like, in theory, it's almost impossible to take out the aspect of human greed. That's when it comes to take theorists and engineers. Like you'll have a theorist or like theoretical physicist or whatnot that can do like certain equations and like calculate things to 0.1111, you name it, infinite kind of thing, as just an example, right? But then obviously an engineer is not going to make something to a certain measurement degree and then keep going off into infinity with a little line there. They're going to round up or round down or look at the best ways that they can fix the component, or maybe there's other alternative like conditions like heat or outside pressure. You never know. There's a lot of things to consider. And so what they do is they kind of, the engineers will find out what works, and through trial and error for a lot of things, especially when it comes to new ventures. There's a lot of trial and error for the engineers to adapt the theory into practice and to make whatever is going on. And that's the thing with a lot of stuff here and just the way that we kind of do things. It's just it's human nature. And what really pisses me off is just this whole war against anyone that's trying to report the news, because anyone nowadays can go out there with a camera and get the what's going on. And a lot of the times through objective media, you're not going to get the other side. And that's what I like about Alex Jones. Is, yeah, I disagree with him on some things, but I think that he has every right to say what he's saying out there. And Sandy Hook, I mean, like, all he did was look into the inconsistencies. Like, you got the coroner on there saying, oh, yeah, we took some really good pictures, and you got that Robbie Parker guy or whatnot, like, who's, like, fucking laughing and, like, smiling before he goes on, once the cameras start rolling, and he's like, right afterwards starts fucking, like, faking it, like, hardcore faking it, like, okay, maybe that's just me being an asshole. I probably shouldn't judge someone who's just lost their kids, so obviously the emotions could be anywhere, but there was a lot of inconsistencies about Sandy Hook. I mean, the fact that there was, like, some weird post-dated stuff for the Red Cross already doing a charity, like, before the actual date of the event. The tire tracks around the house next to it, where it looks like the house that they said that was Adam Lanza and his mom were living in, wasn't the actual house that the police went to. It was, like, the next door, supposedly. So they're thinking maybe the neighbors were those ones, and then Adam Lanza were the other one, and we don't know what's going on with that whole thing. And, they also had a thing at the end, I think around, like, this happened about an hour and a half after the initial reported shooting and people were on location. They had a bunch of guys run off into the woods and either get arrested or whatnot that were dressed in black and had a bunch of weapons, apparently, from eyewitness reports. And so what the fuck was really going on there? Why was there not any kind of mention about other people being arrested next to the whole Adam Lanza thing. You think that would be a serious thing that people would ask some questions. And that's what Alex Jones was doing. He was asking questions. He had some people on, at some point where he was kind of convinced for a little bit. And I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of convinced too. I'm not 100% sure that Sandy Hook was a real thing, because when you look at the emergency service vehicles, there was plenty of police cars that were out there after this whole Sandy Hook shooting, right? And they completely blocked huge portions of the entrance, and so the hospital, like the ambulances, weren't even able to get there in the proper time that they needed to get to. So I mean, I'm not 100% sure that it is true, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to like double check to make sure, pretty much, that you're not getting the wrong kind of people running things. But that's the thing, is how do you know? In a system that's based on greed, you can take the most theoretical concept ever, and the only one that's really kind of made any sense and that's really prospered right now is the supposed free market. It's like, the whole thing about capitalism is that, like everything else, is a double-edged sword. It has that ability to bite you right in the ass, but at least it gives you the opportunity for people to excel, and if they do really well, or they come up with a new idea or something like that, that is rewarded. Meanwhile, in a socialist gulag, everything is preordained, everything is completely done by the state. You can't question any authority whatsoever. You can't really change anything, because anyone else who you try to talk to or try to change has that potential of ratting you out, like a potential Judas situation, or Judas goat. So it's almost impossible to know what really is going on and what really is kind of stopping people from going completely batshit crazy nowadays, because it looks like people are just going batshit crazy nowadays. Like, yeah, Whoopi Goldberg, they had, like, a lady on Fox News or whatnot, and she ended up, screaming in, like, giant, like, crazy cocaine fits. I'm sure, Whoopi Goldberg's off the blow, if you know what I mean, right? So... Because if you ever watched the little Live Aid thing that they did for the charity thing with the Superstation, which was just a total flop, because I guess no one told them that they couldn't swear, and so like practically half the entire show that they had for Live Aid on TBS, the Superstation, for like Ted Turner, turned out to be just a total bleep fest. You couldn't even really hear what they were saying or the jokes, because they just kept bleeping it all out. And it's just kind of like a small example of just some of the crazy stuff that Whoopi Goldberg's done, but I don't think we really need to go into that. All I'm saying is that it's funny how, Roseanne makes a tweet in bad taste thinking it was completely something else, but you have these known racists that know exactly what they're doing, that are spewing out all this kind of crap, and they have like petitions to bring back James Gunn, who's talking about pedophilia like it's like going out of style, literally. Like, if you look at some of his tweets, it is some gross, creepy ass shit. And I mean, maybe you're into that stuff, but if you are, then, well, fuck. Stop watching this channel, because I fucking hate people like that. I'm just joking. But no, it's gotten to the point where it's beyond fucking ridiculous, and I had to speak out and say something, even though it's really not much going on. There's probably like 30 people that are actually subscribed to my channel now. But I am going to be looking, when I do have some free time, to possibly try to move over to Gab and Minds. And I kind of joined both of them when they first kind of like really fairly new, so hopefully I can either figure it out quickly or find some people to have like a decent kind of community thing going on with. So, because that's what I do with my friends online. But no, it really is kind of crazy how just everything's gone completely down the shitter. Everything's politicized to the point where I have to start wearing political shirts and start doing things that are going to piss off people locally, because at least that'll get the name of the company, Infowars, into their fucking brain, so they can go there and be like, oh, what is this person? Oh, this person's not so bad. I mean, I live in a generally conservative, an overwhelmingly conservative riding. You'd think that more people would be open to a kind of libertarian sort of venue, as opposed to a conservative, which is sell everything you can at the lowest possible price and privatize. It's kind of gotten to the point where it's like what Stefan Molyneux said a couple days ago about how when he compared conservatism and liberalism to a conservative wants to stay inside this giant cave or whatnot. And yeah, it's a little wet in certain spots. Yeah, it's maybe a little moldy or whatnot. Maybe there's some bats in there that kind of make things a little bit of a nightmare. But when you look at just how messed up everything is right now, it is crazy. It really is. I just don't know what to do, think, or say about it anymore. It's gotten to that point where, when you silence your opponents, when you kick them off and you deplatform them, they're gonna get more people on their side, and that's a great thing for Alex Jones, because I think he's doing a great job. People are calling him a character and stuff like that, and yet they tried to declare it out in like a court affidavit for his kids or whatnot. And obviously, if you're a persona and you have any kind of lawsuit and you're really well known, you have to practically give up that persona of you to be able to go through the whole process anyways. But nobody ever questions that, right? It's only when somebody has the balls to say something that's unpopular that they're the dangerous ones and they need to be stopped, because God forbid they could think of the children. The basic Socrates argument that ended up not working for the state in the long run and made one man more immortal and more powerful than God or freaking Jesus, in my opinion, because Socrates existed, and I'm agnostic, so I'm still out to lunch on the whole biblical account of Jesus. Plus, I haven't seen anything miraculous to prove me otherwise. But anyways, I'm going to leave it at that right now, just because I've kind of cooled down now. I've ranted for a bit, and just really pisses me off. But I am going to look into going more on Minds and Gab.ai, so we can all get to talk to neo-Nazis on Gab. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. There's actually a lot of white supremacists there. But, on the bright side, I don't really see it getting a hot war kind of in Canada especially, but in the States anything can happen right now. It is just so crazy. Anyway, so I'm gonna let everyone go there. I'm going to be posting Minds and also Gab.ai content probably as soon as I can. It's just a matter of finding free time and stuff right now, because I've been really hauling ass to try to lose some weight and stuff. So I've done a little bit better, but still got a ways to go. So anyways, keep on rocking the free world, and thank you very much for listening to my rant for a bit. Just completely pissed off right now and kind of losing my faith again in humanity. No! Alright, well, peace.